Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Justina and here I like to make, create, and inspire fun art things with you through my DIYs. As you see by clicking on today's video and looking at the title, it is another Valentine's Day DIYs that you are absolutely going to love, and one of them is 4 feet tall. But before we get started, if you're new here and you haven't yet subscribed, I hope you do that today. All you have to do is click on that big red subscribe button down below. It is totally free, but don't forget to click on the bell notification so YouTube can always notify you every time I upload a new video. Plus, we would love to have you here, part of our virtual art family. If you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for being here. I do appreciate each and every one of you, but please make sure to do all the YouTubey things, which is like this video, share it to at least one friend, and also comment down below which one was your favorite DIY. Now, with all that being said, let's just jump right into it and let's art today. Dollar Tree is carrying these plastic heart bowls that are absolutely adorable just as is, but we're going to turn it into something more adorable. They are $1.25, so if you see them, grab them right away. I want to spray paint my bowls using Rust-Oleum spray paint in various colors. I have blue, I have pink, I have purple, and I also have yellow. I do give them a couple of coats of that spray paint and let it dry for 24 hours. Now, where I'm at right now, our temperatures have been really low, so the spray paint did dry a little bit funny. However, they are still very vibrant, as you see here. I just love all of the pastel colors. Now, I want to turn these hearts into giant conversation hearts, so I'm taking some red chalk paint and I'm taking a paintbrush and I am going to start drawing out or painting on my words. This one was supposed to be XOXO, but I didn't realize that I started off with the wrong letter. Now I start off with the 2 center letters just so I can get an idea, make sure it is centered on the heart as best as possible. But remember, you don't always have to paint on your letters. You can always cut it out with a Cricut machine or print off an image and paste it on. My first one was XOXO, but it turned out to be OXOX, which I thought was pretty funny. And my next one is love. Once again, I'm just using some red chalk paint and I'm adding a couple coats, waiting for them to dry completely in between each coat. I do want to mention that these bowls do take chalk paint really well and acrylic paint if you prep it correctly, which is adding some sort of gesso on top of it and then adding your acrylic paint. But the chalk paint takes it really well if you do not just want to spray paint like I did, especially if you are living in a really cold state right now. It's really hard for it to dry correctly. Just another idea if you do not want to spray paint your bowls. Next, I'm taking a black Posca paint marker and I'm starting to outline each letter individually. This will help correct any mistakes that I have done, to hide them, and also really make those words pop off of our conversation hearts. After I was done outlining all of the letters, I then was trying to figure out the best way to stack up my heart so that it can stand up nice and straight when we add it to our flower pot later. And the best way I saw that I needed to connect each heart together was to add a little hole at the top and the bottom of each one of those bowls. Now the top heart doesn't need a top hole, it just needs a bottom hole, but everything else needs a top and the bottom except for your last heart. After I cut out the holes using my wood burning tool, I then took a black zip tie, really small one that you can find at Dollar Tree, and I am connecting them with the zip tie together. This does hold them into place really nicely, and it's a great option if you don't want your hearts to be permanently held together. Here's how they looked after they've been all zip tied together, and that stick beside them is the stick that we are going to attach it to so that it can stand upright. The stick that I'm using is a broomstick from Dollar Tree and they carry that all year long. So how I'm going to attach it, I flip the hearts around, and each heart that has a zip tie, I'm going to add another zip tie through it and then place it around the broomstick so that it can hold the hearts to the broomstick, and you could still remove it later on when you're putting it away. I do this to all 3 of those zip ties that are attached to the hearts, and that holds them into place securely. After I was done attaching the broomstick to each heart, I needed a base for it, and I found my Valentine's flower pot that I painted last year in my crafting stash, and I am just going to use that, but you can pretty much use anything. Now to attach it, I am just using some foam pieces that I have from Dollar Tree, and I'm just adding it to the center and some on the sides of it. Since I don't want this to be permanent, I'm just sticking it in there, but you can always hot glue yours down to whatever base that you have. Next, I'm just going to grab that pole and just stick it in right into the center and pushing down as hard as I can to make sure it hits the bottom. And lastly, you want to hide that floral foam, so I'm just using a piece of white fluffy fabric that I have left over in my crafting stash, and I'm just adding it right to the top of it. But that completes our first DIY. I absolutely loved how this turned out, and I can't believe how big it is. Remember, if you're going to put this outside, I suggest putting something heavy at the bottom so it is nice and secure. However, I know I'm just going to place this around my house during the Valentine's Day season, but I absolutely loved how it turned out. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Moving right into our next DIY, I have a couple of glass jars just hanging around, and I wanted to decorate them. The first thing I wanted to do was cover them using my Waverly chalk paint in the color Snow White. This is also acting as a primer for the next paint that I'm going to add on top of it. Now you can always take it outside to spray paint, but like I said, it's been super cold and the spray paint has not been working very good for me, so I just opted out and started painting mine using that Waverly chalk paint. I do give it about a couple coats on each piece of my glass, and like I said, I have a big one and a small one that I am going to decorate, so I do the same exact thing for the little one as well. After they had time to completely dry, here's how both glasses look, and I wanted to give them a pop of color. I am using my Apple Barrel Multi-Surface Satin Paint in Wisteria and Paradise Pink. I think this is a perfect color for Valentine's Day. I do have to give it about a couple of coats on each glass to make sure that everything's opaque, and I should have gave the pink glass a little bit more coverage, but nonetheless it still comes out adorable. After I was done with that, I placed that to the side to completely dry so I can work on my next glass, and this one only needed a couple of coats and it came out perfectly. After my glasses had time to completely dry, here's how it looks. Like I mentioned before, I should have gave another coat or two to the pink one. Nonetheless, it still turns out really cute. Now I want to decorate mine, and I'm starting off with some caulk. You can find some caulk at Dollar Tree pretty much all year long at Dollar Tree. Now I want to make my glasses look like they have frosting dripping down the outer edges of the glass, so I am pressing it down on the outer glass, removing some of the caulk and using a popsicle stick to really spread it out to look like frosting has just dripped down onto it. I'm really feeling the frosted sweet treats for Valentine's Day season this year, so this was really fun to do. I'm doing the exact same thing for the bigger glass. I'm just adding more of that caulk onto it and then spreading it out with a popsicle stick. This seems to be more easier than adding little bits at a time. That way you have more control over the spread of the frosting all over your glass. Before that had time to dry, I wanted to decorate it while it was still wet. Now Dollar Tree has all sorts of different confettis that you can use or decorations, but I had bought these conversation hearts off of Amazon. I believe 300 came into a pack for a couple of dollars, and I'm just taking out the ones that I want to use, press it down into the caulk so that when the caulk had time to completely dry, it will set in there really nicely. Now these conversations conversation hearts are made out of wood, so they won't spoil, they won't start to rot. I also have these other candy confettis that I purchased around Christmas times when I was doing my Christmas DIYs, that I just took out the little swirlies and added it right into the caulk as well. Now, everything that I did with the larger glass, I also did with the smaller glass. The last thing I wanted to do was add fake sprinkles, and I have some of this colorful puffy paint that I am adding to each one of the glass. I'm just adding little slits so that it looks like sprinkles all over each glass. Wait for them to completely dry, and that completes this DIY. I absolutely loved how these jars turned out. I think it would be super cute to use during a Valentine's Day party. You can put some silverware in them or even little flowers, and it will be a cute centerpiece. But I would love to know what you think about this DIY down in the comment section below. For our next DIY, I do have this block foam from a box that I received that was just left over, and I wanted to use them. And when I saw this kind of looked like one of those wafer sugar cookies. So that is what we are going to make today. The first thing I wanted to do was give it a couple coats of using this apple barrel multi-surface paint in this orange cream color, which I absolutely love. It's like the perfect pastel orange color, and I might have to order some more because I really do love this. Like I mentioned before, I did have to give it a couple coats and let it dry completely so that everything was nice and opaque. Now, if you don't have foam like this, you can always go and get foam board and stack it up, or you can use cardboard boxes. Once I was done painting, I decided to make a second one. For my second one, I wanted it to be in this paradise pink color. So once again, I did give it a couple coats of pink, and this is how it turned out. Now, to make the wafer cookies look like wafer cookies, I am going to use my hot glue gun on the low setting and the thin tipped glue gun. Now, you can use it with the fatter tip glue gun. It's just that it would just be bigger, and I wanted this to be more smaller and more detailed. So I'm going as slow as possible, trying to make the lines as neat as I can. I do have a couple that are wavy, but nonetheless, it still turned out really nice. You really just want to try to take your time so you don't end up with those big dollops of hot glue. Once I had a few rows done, I then wanted to go up with the hot glue gun to really start mimicking those little wafer sections. I was so happy how this was turning out. I wasn't too sure if this was going to work, but it did at the end. You'll start having these little grids as you see here. Once again, I'm going really slowly, but I did speed this up for you, and I still got a little wavy lines, but from far away, it just looks like these little rectangles or square or grids. You want to make sure that your hot glue is completely dry before flipping your cookie over and continuing those lines on the front end of your cookie. This time they're going to be longer, and you need to find the correct spacing. I, however, on this cookie did not do the correct spacing on the front end. It still turned out good, but I wish I just made sure that I took my time and spaced them out correctly. Once I was done with this cookie, I did the exact same thing for the second cookie, and here's how it looks after the glue had time to completely dry. I did add another coat of paint on top of the glue so that it all would be cohesive, but you can always skip that part if you do not want to. After I have my second coat completely dry, it is now time to decorate the cookie. Now, I wanted my cookie to look like it was dipped in some frosting, so I have two things. I have my lightweight spackling and my caulk. Now, at first I started off with the caulk because I thought it would be thicker and it would adhere better down to the foam. They both work perfectly fine. It's just your preference. So I did start off with the caulk. I added a nice dollop right on top. And once again, I'm using a popsicle stick to spread everything out evenly. I'm making sure to get some curvature in there so it looks like it's dripping down the cookie, which I absolutely love. I did have to add more to it to make sure that it was really nice and thick so that whatever decorations I added on top, it would adhere to it. As for decorations, once again, I am using those wooden conversation hearts that I purchased from Amazon. I'm just placing the ones that I really like and pushing it down into the caulk. Now you want to work pretty quickly because the caulk does tend to set up fairly quick, and you want to make sure that it has time to adhere into the caulk. But if it does tend to dry up faster than you get to decorate, you can always just use hot glue to attach it down. I am just placing all of the hearts sporadically all along my cookie, the sides and the top of my cookie. Next, I'm taking some puffy paint and making those fake sprinkles once again. I'm going in various colors and different angles to make it look like the sprinkles were just dropped onto the cookie, which I absolutely love. Then I placed that to the side so that it had time to completely dry. For the second wafer cookie, instead of using the caulk, I am using my lightweight spackling. As you see here, at first it gives you a bit of trouble to adhere down to the foam, but after you start pressing it into the foam, it tends to stick fine. Now this does take quite some time because it does give you that little problematic portion at the very beginning, but I kind of like this one better because it goes on thicker and it kind of looks more like frosting when they completely dry. So I prefer this spackling over the caulk. Now next I am decorating it, but I'm decorating it exactly the same way like I did with our first wafer cookie. So I'm adding the conversation hearts. I'm going to add those fake sprinkles, and then once everything had time to completely dry, that completes this DIY. I absolutely loved how these wafer cookies turned out. These have to be my favorite DIY of the day. But once again, I really would love to know what you think about this DIY down in the comments section below. Okay friends, here is another quick preview of all of the DIYs that I have created in today's video. I had a blast making each and every one of these. They are going to be so cute when I start to set up my little Valentine's Day area, but I would love to know which one was your favorite. Hands down, I believe the sugar wafer cookies is my favorite, but I would love to know which one was yours. If you are new here, hi, I hope you stick around by clicking that big red subscribe button down below. It is totally free, but don't forget to click on the bell notification so that YouTube can always notify you every time I upload a new video. Plus, we would love to have you here, part of our virtual art family. If you are already a subscriber, thank you so much for joining me today. I do appreciate each and every one of you being here, but don't forget to do all of the YouTubey things, which is like this video, share it to at least one friend, and don't forget to comment down below. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoy, and as always, I will see you in the next one.